Welcome back to Valley Life. I'm Rich Kreps, and as you can see, you're staring out there at a ponding basin. And in case you hadn't noticed, it has been quite a wet winter. We've had a lot of rain, and you may be thinking to yourself, so what happens with all that rainwater? And if it does even get heavy enough to have a little bit of the flooding that we've seen, what do we do with it? I've got those questions answered right now. Mr. Patrick Bryan, how are you, sir? It's good to see you.
Likewise.
Good.
Thanks for meeting me out here at Basin S.
You got it.
This is just one of the district's over 150 ponding basins that we have throughout our community. And the function of the ponding basins is to take the water off our streets and put it into an environment where we can reuse it. So essentially, all the water that flows across our community and across our city enters a storm drain system, flows through a system of underground pipes, and ends up at one of the 150 ponding basins throughout our community. But it doesn't end there. That water sits in the ponding basin and over time slowly soaks back down to the ground to recharge our groundwater aquifer, which is our community's main source of water.
Sure. Okay. Now, it's the Fresno Metro Flood Control District. So what specifically does it do then for the community?
That's right. The Fresno Metropolitan Flood Control District provides flood protection for our community, gives that water somewhere to go other than the streets, because before there was a flood control district in 1955, our community routinely flooded, causing millions of dollars of damage nearly every year when the water entered businesses and homes. Nowadays, that water might back up in the streets, but it doesn't enter homes and businesses, causing that type of damage.
We've been hearing a lot lately about pollution and how a lot of the stuff that we put on the top of the streets, in our yards, even coming out from our houses, that, you know, it ends up somewhere in these ponding basins. So what can we do to cut down on some of the pollution that's going into these basins?
You know, Rich, there's something that we all can do. One of the things we can do is not litter. You know, as a matter of fact, cigarette butts are the #1 source of pollution on our California highways, so that by recycling, properly disposing of all household chemicals, especially those that we use around our yard. And the county has a household hazardous waste collection event that will take any household waste and free of charge and dispose of that for you, so that it doesn't end up turning into a pollutant when it enters our environment in places it doesn't belong.
You know, what's beautiful about a lot of the ponding basins you've created is I'm driving around town and I just see hundreds of geese and ducks and egrets and all kinds of things. Well, you've created some viewers here and also have lots of descriptors of some of the waterfowl that they're going to see if they come to the areas. So you've actually made it, you know, not only useful and functional, but also a fun place where people can come and get a little bit of knowledge about what's going on here.
You know what? That's right. We're trying to educate the community about what the ponding basins are, for #1, and also the alternative and assets they provide for the community, like wildlife habitat. You know, everybody likes to see wildlife, and well, we're all drawn to water, and so are the animals that live in our community. So it offers an excellent habitat, and these signs here and the viewing scopes offer the public an opportunity to meet some of our local natives.
Now, Pat, you've got another program that's coming out where you've got some placards that you're actually putting out now in place of the, I want to call it a receptacle, but where all the water ends up being drained in for collection.
Yeah, that would be the storm drain inlets that we'd see all over by the streets, and the curb is where the water goes into. And what I have here is one of those plaques that we're going to put, one of the markers that says, "Don't dump, no dumping, protect your waters," and it has district information with a phone number and website that we'll be putting up very soon here that will give the community more information about what they can do to help prevent pollution, as well as explain to them the function and purpose of all the flood control basins we have throughout our community.
Okay, and knowing how this is recharging our aquifer, so all of our drinking water, a lot of the water that we use for farming and everything is coming right out of that recharged aquifer. The pollution's a big deal. I mean, when we ruin that water, it probably takes a lot of work on your part and all the employees that are what you're working with to clean that up, if they even can, so that we can reuse that.
You know what? Fortunately, what happens is most of the pollutant is trapped within the top 5 inches of the soil, and the district has a maintenance operation that they'll come through on a regular basis and remove the sediment from the basins to prevent the accumulation of any contaminants, as well as maintain the recharge capacity of the basins, because we rely on that capacity so that water can soak into the ground and recharge our groundwater aquifer. But let me say this as well. During the summer times, you may notice that there's still water in ponding basins. Some of them are full. That's because we can pull water from an irrigation canal like we have here that's operated by the Fresno Irrigation District. Okay. So when Sierra snowmelt is flowing through the canals, we can pull water, put it back into the basins and help supplement our groundwater recharge program. Now, the district is just one piece of that puzzle. We also have the Fresno Irrigation District has ponding basins, the city of Fresno and Clovis, as well as the county. So we're all doing our part.
Okay, well, Patrick, if you want to leave one message with everybody today, what would that one thing be where they can help do their part?
That would be to properly dispose of our trash and litter, to recycle our materials, to recycle used motor oil, and don't overwater your grass, because overwatering can carry the lawn chemicals and off of the yard and into the drainage system and into our environment.
Well, Patrick, I sure appreciate all the information. You know, we see these beautiful things you've created and didn't always realize what they were for and then what impact they had back on our environment. So sure appreciate it.
Thanks for your time, Rich.
You got it. And folks, take that message to heart. There is nothing more upsetting to me to see someone reach out of their car and just dump their cigarette butts on the side of the road. So keep the pollutants out of our ponding basin. That water's going to go right back down the gullet when you start drinking it out of the tap. So make sure you're taking good care of it. Don't go anywhere. There's more Valley Life coming up right after this.